So this is the first Flash review I've made since Armageddon Part 1 or Part 2, which was back in November. It's not that I haven't really been enjoying the season. I actually think that Season 8 is quite a bit better than Season 7 and quite a bit better than Season 5. At the moment, I'd probably put it below every season besides Season 5 and Season 7. But the show has been doing some pretty cool things this season. I think that they still have a lot of problems with dialogue and a lot of problems with actually making a story last throughout a bunch of episodes. But the ideas they've had have been really, really, really cool. But I'm trying to get back into big videos, which is why I'm doing a review now on this one. But honestly, this was one of the more underwhelming episodes of the season for me. I should probably say now that a lot of this video probably will be negative, but a lot of it's probably going to be positive as well. It's weird because there are some parts of the episode that I really just did not understand why they were doing it. And then there were other parts of the episode where I was absolutely loving it. But unfortunately, the parts I was loving were definitely very few and far between. It felt like the stuff I really didn't like this week was most of the episode, unfortunately. But I want to talk about the big thing first, and that is that the promo for next week's episode of The Flash has Matt Letscher's Eobard Thawne back on the show for the first time since the beginning of season 3, if I'm not wrong there. I think everyone's kind of been really asking and wanting his version of Eobard Thawne to return ever since he was last shown up. Because look, Tom Cavanagh's great as Eobard Thawne, but Tom Cavanagh's Thawne is way too overused at this point, I think. And we never have gotten enough of Matt Letscher's Eobard Thawne. Like, it doesn't make sense that Matt Letscher's version of the character has been on Legends of Tomorrow more than he's been on the actual Flash show. So to have him come back and hopefully to start getting into that origin stuff of kind of really delving into the stuff that we've sort of been hoping to see since the show first began. Like, it felt like the end game for the show was always going to be Matt Letscher's version of Eobard returning and getting this whole backstory about why he really hates Barry, because we've only heard why he hates Barry through dialogue. We haven't actually seen any of that sort of stuff, so it'd be really cool to get back to that. And the funny thing is that I think Eric Wallace was asked pretty recently, like this year, about doing the backstory stuff and the origin of Reverse Flash and the Matt Letscher kind of stuff. And I think he basically just said that he really wants to do it, but that it's so expensive that he probably won't get to do it. And he says that he knows everybody wants to see it, but it's just so expensive that it isn't really in the show's budget to be able to do that. But now we have Matt Letscher returning, that I wonder if he really was just covering for Matt Letscher returning, and like he knew that they were doing this, or it could just be that this is very much like we had with Eddie Thawne, like we had with Ronnie Raymond this season. This is very much just one-off kind of stuff, or like very brief things with the actors returning, and it's not really the characters either, because, you know, we had Eddie, we had Ronnie both back this season, and only once was it actually Eddie. We never really had actual Ronnie, so I'm hoping that this is actually, you know, a version of Eobard Thawne. Like, this is really the character and not just some kind of weird thing that's going on where it isn't actually Eobard and it's just Matt doing something weird. I know it doesn't really make sense for him to be in this timeline, especially since he doesn't recognize Barry or anything. Like, there definitely is something up, but I hope that it's not a play where it's like it's, you know, somebody using Eobard's face or something like that. Like, I want this to somehow be actual Eobard. Maybe he's lost his memory or something, I don't know, but I do really think that it needs to be the actual character, because just we've been needing this for so long. If you haven't watched Legends of Tomorrow's recent season, he actually showed up there again as well, which is, I kind of just love that out of nowhere now he's back in the Arrowverse in kind of a big way. And the version that was in Legends of Tomorrow was the actual Eobard from the end of Legends of Tomorrow season 2, and there was a load of stuff that went on there that I wonder if it's going to tie into this. I honestly would be surprised if it will tie into this. I feel like it's something that both shows probably, like, the Arrowverse for the most part has started to sort of ignore each other when it comes to this sort of stuff now, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get any kind of reference to what happened in Legends season 2, but I don't even really mind that. I think that just having him back at all is awesome. I just really hope that it is actually Eobard. But really quick, I'm going to talk about some of the other stuff I liked about the most recent episode, and all of the stuff I liked kind of related to Barry, related to the fact we had Tom Cavanagh's Eobard Thawne back, the Lian Yu stuff, and also the tease we got at the end with FastTrack, the new Speedster, who's going to be a big part of the show going forward. Unfortunately, it does kind of feel like this episode was somewhat false advertising, because everything we heard about this episode and also the promos and everything kind of really focused on the, like, Barry looking into this new Speedster, and then also Tom Cavanagh's Eobard returning, and also the Lian Yu stuff. Like, the promo, for example, really was mostly Barry, Tom Cavanagh, and Lian Yu. So it does feel like they were really trying to hide the fact that 90% of this episode was about Allegra and about a storyline that, I'm going to be honest, I don't think a lot of the Flash fandom was interested in or wanted to see. And they obviously knew this. They obviously knew that a lot of people would not have been interested in this episode, so they really did play up the angle of the stuff that was barely in it in an attempt to get more people to watch. And it did work, because this was one of the most excited episodes, or one of my most anticipated episodes in a while, just because of the fact that Lian Yu, Tom Cavanagh, and all that sort of stuff was in it. And then when I was actually watching it, I was like, this is not at all what I thought this episode was going to be. I'm really hoping that's also not the case with next week, because the promo for next week has mostly Matt Letscher's Eobard on it. So if next week's episode has Matt for like 2 minutes, I'm going to be annoyed, because that would have been ridiculous. But the Tom Cavanagh scenes, the Lian Yu scenes, they were great this episode. I like how his Eobard is now in pretty much the exact same cell that Slade Wilson was in Arrow. I also just thought the scenes between him and Barry were great. When Barry was walking out and Tom was like, wait, you going? Like, you leaving? Sort of thing. Like, yeah, he was trying to play Barry. He was trying to just piss Barry off. But at the same time, I think, his Eobard legitimately does not want to be alone. Like, he wants somebody to talk to. And yeah, he was still kind of really trying to rile Barry up by talking over and over again about how much he hates Barry. Which that was a great scene where he's just telling Barry that no other speedster is like him because he hates Barry. No other speedster hates Barry like Eobard does. I thought that was fantastic. One of the best scenes maybe with Tom Cavanagh's Eobard, in my opinion, like in the entire show. It was just great. But I do love that, he really was trying to get Barry to stay. It reminds me of almost like the Slade Oliver dynamic from Arrow. I really did like that. The new speedster, Mina, who is FastTrack, is already quite interesting, I think. I'm actually really excited to see her addition to the show. I think she's really going to bring something to the show, because I think the show definitely does need something to reinvigorate it. Like, while this season has been better than season 7, it still has a lot of problems where the show, it needs a spark, it needs something new. And I think that this new speedster is going to bring something new to the show. I know she's supposed to be in the rest of the season. I'm not actually sure if she's supposed to be in season 9 or not, but I very much hope she is, because I do think that a new speedster like that will bring something to the show. On top of that, I like how Barry immediately wanted to train her, sort of thing. And I thought the whole entrance scene with her, where we see her meet Barry and stuff like that, I thought it was really, really, really well done. It honestly gave me vibes from the early parts of the show with Jesse Quick and Wally West and stuff. So I would be really, really, really happy if they kept her around in a sort of a big role, because I think she is going to be really a really good addition to the show. I'm going to get a little bit negative now, though, mainly because the Allegra reporter stuff and all that was a huge weak point of the episode for me. In my opinion, it doesn't make sense to do a huge reporter-focused episode without actually having Iris West Allen involved in the episode. I know that Candice Patton, she gets 4 episodes off this season, I think. Might be more, but and this was one of them. But I think that they should have worked in a way for Iris, like, not to do this episode when Iris shows up. Because, like, this has definitely been the most reporter-focused season, probably since season 2. Like, there have been a lot of stuff this season, especially in the early parts of the season, with Iris, with Sue, and with Allegra, that were focused on kind of reporting and stuff like that. And I really did enjoy that. But I still think, like, doing an episode now that is completely about Allegra's reporting and not about Iris's reporting is a little weird, because Allegra is still just a supporting character, whereas Iris, a main character, Barry, a main character, have become they've become supporting characters to supporting characters. And it's kind of frustrating. I think that a lot of Candice Patton fans, a lot of Grant Gustin fans really do want those characters to be a much more integral part of the show than they have been this season. And it's annoying as well, because I thought that early parts of the season really did focus on Barry and Iris in a great way, but now it feels like they've kind of just lost track of a lot of that, and it feels like, characters like Chester, characters like Allegra, characters like Cecile are getting 10 times more character development and getting 10 times more, screen time put to them than any other character in the show, which is really frustrating. On top of that, like, we know Joe is stepping down as a regular going into season 9, so he's barely going to be in season 9, and at the moment, he's barely been in season 8. Like, it feels like he's barely been in this season. How is he stepping down if he's barely going to be... If he's going to be in season 9 even less, he's basically not going to be in the show. So I feel like we should be getting more Joe stuff this season as well. But that's just me. But yeah, the episode, it was fine. I mean, I thought some parts of it were fantastic and some parts of it were really bad, so it kind of balanced out. But this probably was one of the more underwhelming episodes of the season for me. I am excited we're going into the back half, or well, not even the back half, of like the last couple episodes now, with Matt Letscher returning, with more fast track stuff, and also with a big character appearance coming in the final, which I've got my fingers crossed. I've got some ideas on who that might be, so I'm excited for that. I think the show has a lot of cool things coming up. Hopefully they can keep up the momentum. Hopefully they can keep kind of now focus going on characters like Barry and Iris rather than a lot of the other characters. But yeah, how did you feel about The Flash this week? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you excited for Matt Letscher returning? Let me know all of that. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and all that. We're hoping to hit 1K this year, which will be amazing. So yeah, please do that if you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day.